Hello, hi everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I can see a lot of people already excited about the session. Apologies for the delay. So we're just waiting for other folks to join in, hop into the call. Hello, hi everyone. Thank you so much. Awesome, fantastic. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement. Uh, so wonderful. What we'll do is we'll quickly get started. So thank you so much everyone for joining us on this wonderful day and wonderful afternoon itself. I believe some of you must be on holidays due to the Diwali festival arriving, and I wish all of you a very happy Diwali in advance. And we're celebrating that tomorrow, though. But people from the north and people in the south and across the country, whosoever is celebrating, happy Diwali to each one of you. So we'll get started with the bootcamp itself. So thank you so much for your interest in showing up your interest in the AI Builders Lab, under which we are going to explore more about the AI Studio offered by Google, right? Uh, so yeah, so I'm just looking at the comments and I'm just a little wondered about how people are excited so much. Yes, everybody will get certificates. Whosoever follows up through the process and gets and does the right thing will definitely get a certificate for sure. But yes, thank you so much for joining in, and we'll quickly get started. So today we are going to discuss about Google's latest offering about AI Studio. So before I deep dive into the conversation, I wanted to understand how many of you have heard about Google AI Studio before, and how many of you have actually done something there. Can I have some yes nos in the chat, maybe? How many of you have heard about Google AI Studio before? Not from me particularly, but from somewhere. Okay, we're going to explore Google's AI Studio today. We're going to scratch the surface, and I'll let you know how things work on Google AI Studio if you're not familiar with it. If you're familiar with it, wonderful. Play around with the already existing prompt, and maybe you can build your own bots as well. So we'll explore that. So before I quickly get down to the business, let me just allow me to share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen, right? Are you able to see my screen? I believe so. Wonderful. Okay, great. Let's get started. And what will what are we going to do here is so before we deep dive, for people who have been joined for the first time and associated for the first time at Hack2skill, my name is Shakti Singh, and I am a program manager, and I look forward for projects like this, and I work closely with Google and their team and Google for developers especially to bring in and evangelize products like this to developer and student ecosystems like yours, right? So that's very niche about me, right? I just quickly move forward. What are we going to do here is we're going to discuss about the Gemini era, and it's very exciting to see a lot of people nowadays using generative AI and different forms, different tools, right? So we're going to discuss what Gemini era is, why is Google as an organization hyping up that there is Gemini era, there's an era coming up which will be full of artificial intelligence. So what is that, and what is Gemini era in particular? So, and post that, we are also going to discuss about what is generative AI. I truly believe there's a whole lot of audience, a whole lot of people who have joined us today have a great sense of what generative AI is. We'll do a very overview of sneak peek of what is AI. Then we'll talk about Gemini in the real world, what is the AI Studio, how to get started, and we'll give out a hands-on walkthrough on the Google AI Studio platform. I'll help you create your first project. I'll help you create your first API key, right? Once you complete these processes and all of these, you keep following up with on me during the hands-on process. That's when you will be able to claim your certificate for this bootcamp, right? So you have to be very synchronized, very synced up with me, and keep doing those processes that I do on my screen as well, right? While we walk through the Google AI Studio. So meanwhile, we're talking about the Gemini era, right? Let's get started. I have just got one very right thing for all of you to quickly have a glance at. So let's quickly have a quick glance at this video. We'll quickly discuss about what are we talking about, and get an understanding from all of you that what is your understanding as this generative AI model, right?
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is.
What does this remind you of? Schrodinger's cat.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. When all of these tools come together, it's a powerful combination.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
It's an entire suite of different kind of possibilities.
Hi, I'm Gemini. What neighborhood do you think I'm in? This appears to be the King's Cross area of London.
Together, we're creating a new era.
So like I said, we are talking about the Gemini era, right? We are talking about the era coming forward, and the era that we are living in is full of artificial intelligence, full of generative AI tools and technologies. All around us, day in, day out, we are interacting with generative AI. We're interacting with artificial intelligence, and that is the cool nowadays, right? So if you as a technologist, if you as a developer enthusiast, if you as a developer at your core yourself, so you are someone who will be very excited, and who will be someone who will ideally have to look at artificial intelligence at some way or the other, right? That is where your kick will come in from, right? So we'll talk about Gemini era, what is it, and how business are also using Gemini as a tool. So before that, so there is a there. So I was just brainstorming a couple of days back, right? And a couple of months back, when I was sitting with this team, and we were having this discussion that there's a whole lot of saying on LinkedIn and other portals, other social media platforms, that artificial intelligence will snatch up our jobs. Artificial intelligence will you know uh, leave us unemployed, and things like that will take place. So which is very not true, and that is what something I also wanted to quote across. And this is a quote, this is a saying that officially has come out from the CEO at Nvidia. During his conference itself, he said that. So AI will never take up your jobs, right? So rest assured of that. But still, there is a higher possibility that you might lose out on your job. That is because the person who has the capabilities, or maybe who has inculcated the generative AI, who has inculcated artificial intelligence tools and technologies, and nourished those skills, right? and added those skills to his or her forte, right, can take up your job at any given point of time. So this is like, you know, someone has better skills, someone who has adopted artificial intelligence will be more productive, will be more efficient, will come up with more new ideas, will come up with more, you know, quick response times, quick turnaround times, and can certainly take up your job. So it'll not be the artificial intelligence, it'll be someone, some human who has adopted artificial intelligence and making his job easier to do, and you know, within a shorter period of time. That is what is going to, you know, actually take up someone's job. It will not never be the artificial intelligence altogether. So quick question to everyone who has joined us today here, and also people who have attended my last boot camp itself. This is the initial boot camp that we are running for the month of October itself. So if you've already done and dusted, it'll just be the same. So this is the first edition for people who have joined us new. Also, so quick question for people in the chat: can you all help me understand what is your understanding about generative AI model? Anything? So what do you understand by generative AI? Let's try and put all of the comments down there. Whatever you think. Thanks, Pradeep. I'm just going through everyone's comment. Okay, wonderful. So a lot of people have actually quoted it very, you know, brightly, that generative AI models are helping us generate content. So we get, in simple language, if I may have to frame that, a type of artificial intelligence that generates content for us, right? So if you give out a prompt and if you ask for a response back, it will generate content for you, right? So that is the artificial intelligence that. So just to frame it out very simply, it's on the screen as well. A type of artificial intelligence that generates content for you. So if it generates content more than just textual, then it becomes a multimodal, you know, generative AI model itself. When I say multimodal, it's multimedia. So when you, it can also respond back, it can also render images, it can also, you know, render through videos, speech, audio, images, codes, and things like that. It's a multimodal generative AI model for us, right? So that is true, right? All of a lot of people have already said it very correctly. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. You've been very interactive. Thank you. Keep interacting with us. So, how do these things work, right? So, a generative AI model is very basic, right? Wherein it has been trained on certain data, and to generate certain amount of output for us, right? If you give out a prompt, so a prompt is basically nothing, just the text that we feed into, you know, or the question that we feed into our generative AI model. So, if you typically use Gemini, or if you typically use ChatGPT in your day in day out, right? So what do? You go to ChatGPT or you go to Gemini and you type out a message that help me write an email to my manager for a leave request, or maybe help me write an email to my head of department, computer science or artificial intelligence, for a leave or maybe a sick leave, right? So it helps you generate that content, it helps you give out that content. So content can be generated in multiple ways. It can be serving different purposes, document summarization. So for an example, if you have a whole lot of website and you give out a prompt saying please scream through the website and give us a documentation on your understanding, it'll give you that prompt, right? So documentation summarization, information extraction, wherein we sometimes go and ask what are the best places, what are the right things, what are the list of things that I should carry to X place, right? If I'm traveling, let's just say, to the north, right, what all should I carry during the winters? It'll give you those information, right? So it can also generate code, it can also do marketing campaigns, it can also do virtual assistant, like somebody in the chat also said that they have created a bot by themselves. Definitely. So you can also do the same. You can also create your own bots using generative AI models. Uh, will I let you know from where to get started and what to do? All right. So now that we are talking about, I'll just quickly give you a little more sense on these foundational models here. So we train foundational models, right? So foundational models are trained on multiple types of data inputs, test data, if I may specify that. So that can be textual, that can be image, that can be video. So if you train a foundational models on specified, training data, and then you ask very generic questions, right? Like related to generating content, it can solve your general problems altogether. It has no, like for example, if you ask what is, let's say, how far is the moon, right? So if you ask generative AI, it can simply reply back to you, right? But if you then have specific requirements, right? If you have specific problem statements that are to be solved by your foundational models, then you have to train it on those specific data points itself as well. So if you are someday going ahead and asking that I am feeling feverish for the past 2 days, and these are my problems and things like that is happening, so it might not be able to respond back. It will give you very generic solutions out of it, because it has not been trained on such data. If you would have feed in a lot of medical science data, a lot of solution based data on top of biology or maybe medical science, it would have given you that results, right? So what you can actually do is you can train your foundational models based on specific requirements, so that you can solve specific problems through your foundational models. So like for an example, we've got Palm, right, for language generations. We've got Gemini Advanced for multimodal processing. The one that you use is Gemini Advanced. We've got Cody for code generation, and Imagine for image processing. These are specific problem statement requirement based foundation models that are already trained and available in the market. All right. So what we're going to do here is so generative AI studio, wherein we'll talk about language, vision, and speech. Right, it can generate images through vision, it can edit images through language. We can design prompts, we can give out different tasks, we can create conversations. We can also tune our language model based on our requirement. How are we actually trying to develop our model? We can also feed in text to speech, speech to text. So I'll try to do that today. I'm not sure about the internet, how does that respond back, but if that works very well, so it should be able to actually help you convert things, right? So we'll try and test that out today itself during the walkthrough. So these are the type of things that we can explore on Google's generative AI studio. So what are we majorly going to focus today upon is the language piece of it. But the other ones, I'll give you some examples which you can also go back and test out on your own grounds, right? That we can do quickly. All right. So moving forward, what I'll do is I'll quickly, if you see, or if you're able to see my screen, right? What do you see? There is a very basic prompt, right? So this prompt is like very generic, right? I've just written, help me create a list uh, that would be helpful for me to actually go to a camping trip, right? It gives very generic prompt like carry a tent, sleeping bags, sleeping pads, pillows. Who does that, right? Nobody does carry pillows during their trip, right? Or maybe stove or things like that. If you unless you're going for a huge camping trip for a month or so, you will not carry all of these stuff, and how not everybody will be able to afford that as well. So what do? You put in very specified information to get specific responses back from the, you know, this is Gemini Advanced. So from the Gemini Advanced itself, how do we do that, right? There are multiple ways through which we can throw out prompts to our generative AI model itself. So there is a way. The one that you just saw was a zero shot prompting, wherein I did not specify any examples, right? I did not get, gave any ground zero for it to stabilize and think around something and then give me a response. I very generally said that what are the things that I should carry during a camping trip, right? It came up with the same response back, right? Very generic response. If I would have said that I am going to this place, like I am going to the Himalayas, right, during the month of December, what all things should I carry? This is very specific example based, prompting, right, which is called one shot prompting, right? Providing a single example of the task to the LLM. What do? We provide very like an example that I said, right? I am going to the Himalayas and during the winters. So I'm providing examples, right? Or either sometimes what we do is we try and help our generative AI model imitate like somebody else, right? Sometimes we do put in prompts saying, think think yourself as a, mathematician and help me explain quadratic equation. Think yourself as an astronaut. How does it looks like? How does the earth look like from the moon, right? Things like that. You help the generative AI model to think like someone. That is where you're setting up the example. And for few short prompting, it is like, if you have specific requirements, bot based requirements, and if you need your bots to be very specified on some topics, we can absolutely use that. Examples are there for you to actually look at. I'll give you some certain examples as well from where you can pick and get started. But you again have to train on multiple examples here in few short prompting. All right. So now that we discussed about what are we going to cover today here, so let's look at, how businesses and, actually how businesses and other fields are also utilizing. But before doing that, let's quickly, like, I see a lot of questions coming in about the certificates. Yes, we'll be also providing you certificates post completion of this bootcamp altogether. For doing that, you have to follow the certain steps. Now that we are moving on to the generative AI or with Google AI Studio platform, so if you are able to see on my screen, there is a scanner or that link. I'm pasting that link in the chat as well. For people who are using mobile phones, can use this, your mobiles to scan this, and people who are on laptops, I'm just dropping that email, that link. I'm sorry, that link to you, so that you can actually go to that link. So you need to use this QR or specifically this link in order to, actually drop to that AI Studio, so that I can track your progresses. So we've sent that link. So people who have scanned this, just hold on onto the other screen wheresoever you're landing. People who are still struggling, just copy paste that link from the chat box, from the comment box itself. We've sent that link to you guys. Hold on to the page that you are. So once that opens up, stay there, right? I'll help you create your first project as well as your first API key on Google AI Studio, which is one of the prominent steps to earn your certificates, right? So hold on to that page meanwhile others are doing. So once you're done, just give me some confirmations. Just say yes if you're on that page, if you're on Google AI Studio. So this steps will be your, gateway. This is your initial gateway to get started and get your certificates. If you've already done that, no need to carry forward. But if you're new and if you've not got the certificate yet, please follow this step. Scan this QR, go to that Google AI Studio platform, hold on to there, right? And if there is also a link, I'm dropping that link again for people who are using laptops. Copy this link, go to that page, hold on to there. All right then. So once you're on that page itself, right? So what you do is you see a screen. If people are on mobile phones, this dimension will be different. So if you see a prompt like this which says get API key, develop in your own environment and get API key, you have to click on that button which says get API key. Once you click on that button, there will be an acknowledgement like terms and condition checkbox. So you have to checkbox this and click on continue. So if you click on continue, you'll be able to see this button which says create API key. Okay, so people following, if you then click on this button which says create API key, this is another security check. You say get it, you move forward, then click on create API key new project. If you click on this button now, within a few seconds, there will be an API key generated for you. I will repeat myself. So for those who are following me on the screen itself, once you're done creating your API key, take a screenshot of that page. Keep it handy. Take a screenshot. Keep it handy. Right? People who have already followed up till here, I'm just repeating myself. You need to scan this or go to that link. Right? Whichever way works for you. Once done, this is a model pop-up that will come in front of you, on which you have to select get API key. Once you are done with get API key, the next step for you would be to checkbox this. So if you checkbox and click on continue, you will be landed onto the page and it'll say create API key. You have to click on create API key and move forward. So once you click on that button create API key, there will be another pop-up which will say safety security reminder, and then you say get it, move forward, click on create API key new project. So if you now click on this button, within a few seconds you'll be able to generate your API key. So yeah, so how many of you have already done it? Can I have confirmations? Also, there's humble request to not share these API keys with each other, your friends, families, anybody. Keep it very private. API keys are not meant to be shared by anyone. So if you're done with that process, you can also close this box here. And if you refresh the page, there will be a table like this, which will auto-populate, which will have those details. But if you want to take a screenshot here also, which is fine. If you want to close this, refresh and take a screenshot of that table, which will also equally work. Right? Keep those screenshots with you guys. We'll be needing that in the feedback form, which is meant to be the completion of the bootcamp. If you're done, can you please acknowledge so that we can move forward quickly? All right, I believe a lot of people have already generated their API key. We'll let you know what is to be done with these API keys. It'll be very helpful for you to actually use it while building any example bots, or maybe work on your first project on Google AI Studio. These are necessary for you to actually, take out that code from Google AI Studio and take it to somewhere else. That's where these code API keys will actually come and play a very important role. All right, let's just quickly move forward, and I'll take this opportunity to actually get down from here and go to this link. So now I'm also on the Google AI Studio platform itself. People who are following me, this is the platform overall, right? So you can see multiple of my API keys. My table is also populated under some project name, right? And there are multiple builds that are happening with me. So to get started, this is the first landing page that you come across. There are multiple options on the left. We'll explore these as well, right? And there is option to create another API key. So what we'll do is I have my API keys, and what I'll do is I'll click on create new prompt. So if you guys are following, you can also do the same. You can click on create new prompt, and this is our prompt page, right? This is our first prompt page wherein we'll actually test out this platform. Actually, I'll help you understand what are the options on the right, what are the options on the left, what is this center screen, right? Why does it look like just like Gemini, and what is the difference from here to Gemini Advanced, right? What we'll do, so you must be seeing a lot of options on the top, right here: get code, model, token number, temperature. We'll discuss about these. On the left there are multiple options. On the top there is an option. So getting started with, so there's an untitled prompt, so we'll try to name our prompt is my prompt of 38th. Today is 38th, so I've just named out my prompt itself, my prompt of 30th, right? And then there are so I'll close this for once. All right, so what we'll do is we'll try and ask something to our prompt, through our prompt, right? How far is the moon? Should we test that? Okay. Okay, it worked, right? It actually worked, and it has given us response in 4.2 microseconds, and it has come up with, the average roughly kilometers, the distance, and whatever other terms that it is stating, right? So what we did is very generic question we asked. Let's try and ask very specific questions. What is quadratic equation? See, it has helped me explain what is a quadratic equation. It is a polynomial equation of degree 2, right? This means that the highest power of the variable, usually x, is 2, and so on and so forth. A x square plus bx plus c is equals to 0. And it has started to explain what is, degree 2, what is degree 1, what is degree 0, linear terms, constant terms, quadratic terms, and things like that, right? It has given some certain examples as well. So if you are somewhat familiar with mathematics, right, if you come from a background of mathematics, it will help you understand, right? That's when you'll get to understand what is a quadratic equation. What if my bot should be able to communicate to someone who is also not coming from a mathematical background, right? What should it ideally do? So my bot should ideally do is help me explain to okay, now the storytelling has begun, right? So you see the difference it is creating. So now it is not giving any examples of, and it is not setting up any degree 2, degree 1 linear equations or things like that. What I have prompted is very specific, one shot prompting. When I have given out input saying, you know that help me explain quadratic equations to a non-mathematical background person, right? How how can we how can he understand? How can I help him understand what is a math? If I'm trying to build a mathematical, let's just say, tutor based bot, right? So my bot should be capable enough to help understand anyone who comes down to my bot and interact with it, right? If somebody asks, it should not, it should ask a couple of questions prior. Let's just say, do you have a background in mathematics? Do you, till which school or till which class did you actually studied mathematics? And then it should actually say that what is your question, and things like that, to get a better sense and to actually give you specific person to person based response, right? So help me, so when I put across a message saying help me explain quadratic equations to a non mathematical background person, it actually helped frame, certain examples. It started saying that imagine you're throwing a ball up in the air, and then you can read it through, right? It is helping us explain that overall quadratic equations to a non-mathematical background person. Similarly similarly this whole platform of ours is also, until unless, so what we use in our day-to-day is Gemini Advanced. If until unless you're using it at a pro version, right, we cannot actually we cannot actually use multimodal at times, right? Until unless we're using the pro version or things like that. But here, at Google AI Studio, it's all for free, right? So it's all for free. What you can do is you can do multimodal here. So we'll try now for multimodal inputs here. So what we'll do is we'll upload a file. We'll pick it up from sample itself. We'll not do anything else. We'll pick up any image. So let's just say we pick up this image and add it to our prompt. And what do we say? What animal is this? So it came up, right? It has read through that image, and it has come up and said that this is a sea turtle, likely a grease sea turtle. It is now specifying more that what type of turtle this is, right? Based on the smooth shell and the pattern on his head, it's difficult to be 100% certain from the angle photo alone, but green sea turtle is a good guess. So it's guessing based on that picture, whatever the picture is. If you feed in multiple pictures of that same turtle, it should be at a certain point of accuracy and come back saying that this is green sea turtle, right? I'll give you another example. I'll upload another sample image from here. I'll upload this one. See, it is specifying you. It has been coming back and responding in microseconds that what animal it is reading through those images, right? Not just images, but it is supporting multimodal functions, right? So what we can actually do is we can also test it out on, let's just say, let's test out a video input here. So these are too long for us to actually look at. This is the smallest one. We'll pick it up this. I can see a dinosaur picture in this. So what prompt should I give? How many unique dinos are there in this video, right? So before I just go ahead and put that across, right, tap or press enter or maybe that run button. I click on that run button. I would like to just put this across that this is a 5 minute video, right? You can see this is a 5 minute video, and it is taking 88,501 tokens, right? So you can see on the right, it has already, in order to upload, while you upload it, it has already taken up those tokens from my account. So it is a 5 minute video. Let's see within how many seconds can it come back saying how many unique dinosaurs are there in this video. So you see the difference. It's taking more than usual. Usually for image it takes 4.3 seconds. Text, when you be very specific, takes more time. But right, it's now taking more time to actually go through that video. So it's breaking that video into bits and pieces of tokens, and then going through it. All right. So meanwhile, this comes back to us. I'll just help you explain the functions on the right hand side and the top button. So like we were giving out, one shot prompting, where I defined that help me explain, quadratic equations to a non-mathematical. Similar things you can do in system instructions. So in systems instruction, if you put out a message saying that whatever response you do it in a way that you're explaining it to a 5-year-old maybe, or maybe a 80-year-old human, right? So in that fashion, whatever, then you don't have to be very specific every time here. But when you, in this case, when you're trying to build a specific requirement based model, that's when you set the systems instructions, right? So for an example, like we were talking about a mathematical tutor bot, right? So in that case, you say that every time you explain, you have to ask a question like this, or maybe every time somebody give you a prompt, ask this first question, then go ahead, and you can write a whole lot of system instructions there, right? Try it out. Okay, just to come on the right hand side of it, there is model, there's token, there's temperature, tools, and things like that, right? So what is model? So multiple, like I said, right, on the Gemini Advanced itself, which we use usually in our day in day out, there are no options for us to actually work around with multimodal inputs outputs. Here it is for free, right? We can actually look into video rendering, we can actually look into image processing and things like that. It has also various versions. What all these versions are and how does this differentiate from each other is, if you want to explore that piece of it, you can also go through that developer documentations. I can just help you walk you through. On the left hand side, if you see, uh, here's the developer documentations for the Gemini API. So explore that by yourself. You'll find differences between each model. So there are minor tweaks, major tweaks at times, right? So there were GAO models as well before. So what are the differences? You can read by yourself. There's a whole lot of reading. I'll not take you there. But yes, so we can use multiple models here. So if I want to switch from, let's just say 1.5 Pro to 1.5 Flash, I can do that here quickly based on my requirements, based on my things that I need to work upon, right? What are tokens? Tokens, like for example, I just showed you, right? That image and that video is taking a lot of, actually taking a lot of time. This is okay, like you see 88,501 tokens. So basically this video will take out these many tokens to actually break that video. Our foundational model will take 88,005, like 88,500 tokens to actually work on this video and come back as a response, right? Tokens are chunks, like, to help you explain, there is a whole lot of video which is breaking into parts. These parts are now represented as tokens in artificial intelligence language. These tokens are taken into consideration by the model and then worked on top of it in order to get back to us as a response, right? So talking about temperature, I'll quickly run down through all of these options due to time shortage. Temperature is by default one. So temperature is nothing but the, so you allow, so if you toggle the temperature is when you allow your generative AI model to be more creative. So for an example, if you toggle it to 2, right, so that's when you allow your generative AI model to be more creative in terms of response. But when I say creative, it does not mean more aligned towards it, right? So if you toggle it like, so for an example, if you're standing on a red light, right, if you're standing on a traffic light, and I ask a question to my generative AI form, that what will happen next when the light turns green? Ideal answer should be that the buses start moving, that the car starts moving, that the motorcycle starts moving, and people start walking on the road and things like that, right? But if you allow the temperature to be creative, it can simply come up and say that maybe elephants are walking down the lane, right? It is creative, but not desired answers it will come up with, right? So I'll set up another quick example to you. So if you're able to see my screen right here, so imagine that the, if I put a prompt saying that the garden was full of beautiful, so ideal answers should be flowers, trees, right? Maximum we can go to herbs, but who will expect bugs, right? No one. So low possibility words, while temperature moves at the higher side, it gets more creative, but less possible words, right? But while we are going down the temperature, it is helping us get more possibility of words, appropriate responses, predictable answers, right? That is the use of actually this overall like what I'm saying, this whole temperature thing, right? Tuning. So we are tuning that temperature itself. I'll share back the screen. Okay, I need to stop this once. I'll try and re-upload this. So I'm just trying another video here. So meanwhile, I'll just try that out. So we can also actually look at, there's some error occurring. Let me just refresh this for you guys once. I'll just bring that up once again. So on the right hand side, if you see these options, right, there's JSON mode. So in order to get these prompts into JSON outputs, you can toggle this, edit the schema, and get outputs in JSON mode. Code execution is where you need to actually, so if you see this get code option, I'll help you sync with code execution and get code once. But what is function calling? So typically try and understand. uh, so typically try and understand. So for an example, if you at any given point of time, our model is not trained on live data, right? It is trained on some test data which is already pre-filled, and then the whole foundation model is being trained on top of it, right? So if you someday and come across and ask what is the weather in Mumbai, right, it will not be able to generate any response for you because it's not getting that live data. So in that case, what should we do? We should actually feed in live data. So if, with the belief that you understand how API works, right? So what we can actually do is we can feed in a function call, which will, call some weather API outside, third party weather APIs. We'll integrate that using function calls right here in our model. And then if we go ahead and ask our model to give us response on what is the weather outside, it'll be able to actually generate content for you, right? So that is the use of function calling. On the top right corner, if you may see, there is get code as well. So if you click on get code, here's the code that based on whatever we did in this prompt gallery here. Whatever we did here is now actually also available in code, right? It is available in multiple languages. If you're familiar with bash languages, bash scripting, there is code available. Python is there, right? There's JavaScript, Go, Android, Kotlin for Dart is there for you to app development into, if you are into app development, you can also fetch that code accordingly. Use of different languages. For let's just keep it in Python as well. So you can copy this code, take it to your VS code, and actually take it there. Let me just quickly try and save this once. So there's one thing, if you try and execute anything right using these tools over here in this gallery itself, that's when this will not give you options to take it to some other editor directly from here. So so Google Colab is something, if you're familiar with Jupyter Notebook, similar on the internet version of it on online environment. Google Colab is something that you can also work on, right? Take this code to Google Colab and then start executing and test it out. But if you're using any of these tool functionalities here, it will not work out like that. So if I turn this off, go to get code, then it says open in Colab. So what can I do is, if I open this whole code in Colab, my whole model is trained now, right? So typically what I have done here is I have tested, I have done everything. I have set system instructions, I've set model, I've set temperature, JSON, everything I've set, right? Now what I'm doing is I'm just going to the uh, take this code to open in Colab, right? In this fashion, your code will come down here. Where is the API key being used? So if you see on my left hand side here, you have to add your API key, or maybe create your first API key. So if you click here, add secret key, that's where you have to enter your API key that you have generated in order to use this overall model to some other, VS code, or maybe some, take it to outside environment, take it to, let's just say, your website, take it to your app, wherever you want to integrate your bot or maybe your chat assistant, you can do that, right? You understand where we actually worked out on this? So here you have to actually enter your API key, wherein it will take calls to actually get you through these prompts on your chatbots. So all of these functions, what you can do is you can start running these, right? These cells. If you understand how actually Jupyter Notebook works, one after the other cell you have to run. That's when the next cells will actually work out. If you run this cell without running the one at the top, this has not worked. So for an example, the libraries have not been input, and then you're just making calls to put your information to some user data, right? That will not work. You'll not be able to make a call to your Google API key. That will not take place. So you have to run these cells one after the other, and you should be able to take this forward from there. For your quick assistance, if you want to explore more models, pre-trained models already before you actually deep dive into your own building things, you can come to this prompt gallery right here. You can explore these already built and set up gallery prompts, right? This is a prompt gallery where you can also explore, there's a cook helper, there's a modified writing texture, brand extractor, there's hurricane charting, blog post creator. A lot of already options are available for you. So if you want to explore that, go ahead, do that. We'll be more than happy to actually see you portray it. But coming to the end of this, wrapping up this session, all of those people who have actually created that project and the API key can make a submission on this scanner and quickly do that for us, so that we can actually get your responses, get your project IDs, and we can associate and send out, roll out your certificates. Yeah, can we do that very quickly? I've sent the link in the chat as well for people who are using through the laptops. Please make your submissions count. Let's quickly do this. We are already running out of time, but thank you so much everyone for attending this. Try out yourself, right? This is your first step into the artificial intelligence, era, Gemini era itself. So make sure you test out your own at your own pace. Find out things. If you're unable to, actually figure out anything, do reach out to me, right? Or maybe at the support of Hack2skill. So they'll be more than happy to actually address all of your queries, and we'll be more than happy to see you grow in the artificial intelligence domain. Explore Google AI Studio at your own pace. Read out developer documentations. Read out and test out prompt gallery already existing there. Uh, so once somebody has already done and completed this before, must have received the certificates. But if you've not done it, do it right away. You'll be so once done, quickly make a submission and confirm, please. If you've already done it prior, it'll just be for one time, because even if you do duplicate entries, it will not be counted. It'll be just for the one time. Don't share a screenshot of the API key. Instead, close that tab, refresh the first page in the table that I saw, that we initially looked at, right? The table that we initially looked at is where you can actually take a screenshot of. For people who are submitting today, the certificates will be received by you within 2 weeks of time, not immediately. So kindly hold on to that patience. But definitely, if you are completing the step, you will receive that certificate. Those who have already done it, kindly confirm. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. You're exceeding with the time. Please kindly complete it. I'm just sending that again, the link. You can complete that process. You can pick it up, the link from the chat later as well. Also, and we'll also roll out an email in case you miss out the link and doing it right away. Make sure you complete the process within 2 days so that we can actually proceed further. But thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. What happened to Leila? I don't know. Leila, it's not a problem, Leila. It's with us only. We'll make sure that nothing happens. Thank you. Stop spamming now, guys. But thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Happy Diwali to all of you people celebrating. And we'll see you very soon in the month of November, coming up with another cohort, right? More advanced, and we'll talk about more advanced what are things we can actually look at, and how can we actually explore Vertex AI. So Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. And people who have already completed, please make sure you complete the process. Wait for the email. If you already done it, keep doing it. The link will remain in the chat box itself. So keep doing it. Complete that process. Make sure you do it so that you can get a certificate. Without doing it, even if you've attended the whole session, we'll not be able to actually give out the certificates to you. So make sure you do it and complete the process. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Have a great festival ahead. Happy Diwali to everyone. We'll see you soon. Thank you.